Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Today we are looking at the Ancient Magus Bride episode 7. So guys and girls, I'm sorry for getting this out so late. Obviously many of you know that I was at Anime New York City yesterday and today. Obviously I wasn't there for very long. I was there for like a couple hours. I'll talk about that more later. I'll save that for another video probably. But yeah, so I'm trying to get everything out now. I do have everything that I'm supposed to be watching already watched. Besides, I think the Foxbear Matchmaker is the only thing I have not watched yet, so I'm going to watch that. But everything else, Code Realize, obviously Ancient Magus Bride, which I'm doing right now, and March comes online, I've watched all of those, and that's what we're talking about today. But individually, I'm not going to spam you guys right now with one video, just, I'm going to, spread them out, obviously. So, this week's episode of the Ancient Magus Bride was incredible, to say the least. We finally meet another character that was part of the OVA, which is Ulysses, or Ulysses, I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's like Ulysses S. Grant, but it's not this. The way they say it is kind of like throws me off a little bit. I think it's supposed to be like Ulysses, but anyways, what he is he's not really a dog, but he stays in that form. Why they'll explain, I'm presuming, later on. But really, the crux of this episode was when he saved Chisei from this kind of weird anomaly of sorts. It was like this weird mask spirit type thing that went chasing after her. It was really creepy looking. He basically shattered it with his hand, which was really cool, by the way. But then got hurt and injured, and obviously Chisei took care of him. At the same time, some other person went after Ulysses. It was like some girl, I forgot her name off the top of my head. But she wants to use him as a material for a chimera, which many of you already know what chimeras are. But the crux of this episode for me, the most I want to take away and the most stuff I want to focus on has to be the very end of the episode. What happened with Chisei getting hurt by that weird mantis kind of demon thing over there. And then what ELIAS became. So ELIAS basically was gone this whole episode, we thought. He wasn't really around Chisei very much besides the beginning. He was there with her and they were talking. He was talking about how, he gave her a ring, which, by the way, that was funny. When that ring, he gave it to her, that was creation of, I forgot her name off the top of my head. I should remember her name, because Angelica. I couldn't remember for a second. Angelica made Chisei a ring to harness her power to kind of like mimic it a little bit at the same time, not mimic it, mute it a little bit, I should say. But if she ever has like too much emotions, it apparently will go berserk. And I'm like, so you give her a ring that really does nothing. Since I have issues with that ring, to be honest with you. Just because it doesn't, if you think about it, it really doesn't do anything. And I know some people are going to say, well, it mutes her powers, and does it really? Because as ELIAS tells her, if she gets too emotional, her powers will go berserk and be amplified. So realistically, already her powers are pretty unstable. So you're saying that this thing is going to make it worse if she goes in an emotionally bad state. I'm just saying that doesn't sound like a good thing. That doesn't sound anything like it's really helping her. But we'll talk about that. In its own thing, whatever. It'll probably be described later on, maybe as something very helpful. I have a feeling it's going to play out next week. But back to what happened with this thing, because that whole scene was funny with the whole like Angelica telling her not to put it on her marriage finger because like you're not ready for that yet. I cracked up with that, like out loud. I actually was cracking up. But the episode conveniently is titled "When You Talk with the Devil, he comes forth, or he comes closer." Now, in Christian/Catholic lore, and this is something I believe in personally. As we know, the devil is supposed to be a not omnipresent being. He's not like God. He doesn't have that power. He does have minions, etc. But his power is that he's supposed to be only able to walk around the earth. That's how he goes about. He doesn't teleport places, etc. He's there when he's like when he's called upon, essentially, and it's like it brings him closer. It's not like he's just there all of a sudden out of nowhere, but it brings him closer to him when you start mentioning his name. And that's why even like you'll never really hear me mention his name. Even with this review, I'm not going to say it too many times because I'm a true believer of that, to be honest with you. But and that's my faith. But what's interesting about this was that by that standards, you almost wonder if ELIAS is supposed to be like a version of him, and not in a bad way, not like a horrible creature, but having the powers of similar things because. As we saw it, he was in Chisei's shadow the whole time. So that means he could have saved her from that thing, but no, he was just there. And then he came out later on. And, there are many things you can conclude that. You can say, oh, maybe he was helping her, master her powers, etc., blah, blah. But I just think it's weird. I really do. And then the fact when the girl talks about, and this is the blonde-haired girl, after Chisei got attacked by the mantis, you have ELIAS being talked about from the perspective of this blonde-haired girl, saying that there's a being that tries to mimic itself as human but is not human. It's something that will never understand what it is to be human. Quote unquote, that is what the devil's supposed to be in many ways. That's supposed to be this thing where it has no human form, but it tries to take the shape of a human. It's like, that is creepy. That legit is creepy. I'm like, so is that what they're trying to imply ELIAS is? I'd be amazed by that, because I'm like, holy crap. Really? Seriously? Like, that was... But the form he took at the end, I'm like, oh my god, what the hell is that? That is so freaking terrifying. I'm like, you aren't human before. I clearly knew that, but what the hell? I can only imagine what next week's episode will bring. I can't wait for next week's episode. This show is definitely my favorite show of the season. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if anything can really beat Ancient Magus Bride for me. It's like maybe a tie with some other shows, but I really think it's my favorite show of the season, to be honest with you. What are you guys' thoughts about this week's episode? What do you think about what I was talking about with him being, you know, the quote-unquote devil? I would love to know. You guys tell me in the comments below, as always. And I will talk to you guys later. I have a slew of other reviews. I will try to get them out as soon as I can. Bye-bye, everyone.